The final shape is just around the corner, and I gotta say, overall, Destiny sentiment has been pretty positive recently. You know, lots of praise around Into the Light, which is well-deserved, with Onslaught being a hit, Brave Arsenal being highly desirable, the Shiny Chase keeping people engaged, and Pantheon offering some new takes on old encounters that keeps the PvE crowd taking on new challenges for big rewards. All in all, I'd say we're sitting pretty well. And myself, I've been really locked in lately, and I'm very much looking forward to the new DLC and all the hype that it will bring, and the weapons and exotics that we're going to chase, as well as the conclusion, obviously, to the Light vs. Dark saga. But there's one key thing I am just a little bit worried about, and I wanted to see if I was the only one. So I'm going to chat a little bit about that concern in this video. And in the background, you'll be seeing some gameplay with my Encore Golden Tricorn Jorum's Claw from the Iron Banner. I was told to revisit this pulse by some viewers after the recent buffs to adaptive pulses, and but I still find it to just be sort of okay, personally, like a solid B- weapon in my opinion, but still fun to break out occasionally. Alright, so let's get into the discussion. A lot of people are really looking forward to the new Prismatic subclasses and all the sort of mad scientist things that's going to bring to the table. You know, mixing light and dark abilities into one Guardian, like when we were kids and we would take our cup at a fast food restaurant and just go down the line of sodas and put a little bit of Coke in there, a little bit of Sprite, some Dr. Pepper, a little Mountain Dew, and then we would pretend that we liked the mixture. It's just like that. And then Bungie decided to take things even further by blurring the lines even more with an exotic class ability that will give us access to exotic perks, you know, from Hunter exotics on our Titan and Titan exotic perks on our Warlock, so on and so forth. So not only are we blending subclasses, but we're blending classes now too, and unique items. So this to me is a continuation of a vision that Bungie has had going back to the subclass 3.0 changes. And there's a lot about subclass 3.0 changes that I love. But there's also one aspect of it that I've never been a fan of. And the exact same thing is true about my feelings about Prismatic and exotic class abilities. And that's my concern, that we're straying further and further away from clear class identity, right? So what does it mean to be a Warlock? What does it mean to be a Hunter? What does it mean to be a Titan? I really like in fantasy games of various types, sort of playing a role, living into my character's shoes. You know, but we've seen the Titan's unique ability to throw a suppressor grenade, shut down supers, go from being, you know, it's a defender Titan thing. They're keeping the battlefield in check. And now it's just an option for everybody. You got the trip mine, which is a uniquely I see a trip mine, I think that's a Hunter thing. So much so that none other than Cade 6 uses them alongside throwing knives to be sort of the Batman of the battlefield, using tricky gadgets and throwables to even the odds. But now everyone can use them. The Solar Support Warlock, who heals his teammates and offers aid like a Valkyrie on the battlefield. Well, now the squirrely shotgunning Hunters can just toss those at their feet and reset the fight that they're losing. And then if they're losing it again, they can Worm Husk and Dodge on top of that and get even more health. So we started to lose class identity with a lot of these subclass 3.0 changes. Devour, it's a vampiric Voidwalker thing. That's always been what Voidwalker's all about, is this sort of siphoning power from your enemies. Now everybody has access to Devour, and Warlocks even have to receive a nerf to Devour because of that, and that really sucks. So we started losing class identity with a lot of these 3.0 changes, and while it opened up new build crafting options for us, which is cool, it also seemed to me to be maybe a little bit of an overstep. All we needed to do really was just open up the individual skill trees, like top tree Dawn, middle tree Dawn, bottom tree Dawn, and now you can blend those Dawnblade subclasses together instead of blending all the solar subclasses together. So I wasn't a huge fan of the blending, but I rolled with it. But now we're pushing that even further by adding Prismatic. And don't get me wrong, Prismatic looks really cool, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm gonna be throwing out a Bleak Watcher turret and then summoning my Helion Solar Buddy to mortar strike balls of fire into freezing groups of ads, and that's gonna be sick. But I feel that subclass identity is slipping away even more, and then we bring the exotic class items into the mix, and it just feels like nothing's sacred anymore. Everyone gets everything. Hunters can use Heart of Inmost Light, Titans can use Ophidian Aspects, Warlocks can use Syntheseps. Like, we just keep blurring the lines a bit here, a little bit there, and then a lot over there. And there are two main reasons why that worries me. Let me talk about them. The first is the fantasy of it. Like, we're losing those defined roles, the stalwart warrior titan, the magic spacecaster warlock, the cunning and stealthy hunter. We get further and further away from those defined roles. But the second reason that this worries me is more PvP thing. One of the things that makes a good PvP player a good PvP player is their ability to look at an enemy and immediately understand what's on the table. When I see a Titan sprinting with glowing blades on their boots, I know to backpedal because it's a one-hit kill shoulder charge that's coming my way. When I see the Atheris gauntlets fully engaged and flared out on an enemy after they hit me with a pulse rifle burst, I know to keep running and not sit still at the corner because that tracking knife is coming my way. A good player can look at an enemy and immediately recognize potential threats and things that the enemy can do. Now, we're just going to be guessing, right? You see a prismatic enemy, you've got no idea what buffs, what debuffs are on the table. Will they slow you, freeze you, put solar stacks on you to scorch you? You've got no idea. You see the exotic class item, and it can be a combination of 2 out of 16 possible exotic perks. What super are they about to have cooled down? You don't know. I'm just not a fan of making players guess when it comes to engagements. That's one thing Bungie even said a long time ago, that they wouldn't allow you to transmog your exotic armor pieces because they think it's really important for players to see them on you and know what's on the table in a fight. Now imagine you walk around the corner and there's a warlock there with no identifiable features. A cold snap grenade pops out of them, freezes you, and then you immediately get hit with a pocket singularity that throws you backwards and shatters you, killing you and another teammate who was nearby. The warlock is now full health because they have Devour. They blink into the air and cast Needle Storm at your team in their spawn, but then they Phoenix dive down to the ground to get all their health back immediately and then start launching flaming mortar strikes into your team. That is a thing that can happen now. That's on the table. And there's a part of me, the Warlock main in me, that gets like really excited thinking about like, yo, that sounds awesome. But then there's this other part of me that's like maybe a little bit concerned. Like, how do you prepare for that? How do you adjust to that in real time? That's like sensory overload for an old man like me. Bungie themselves recently talked about how they don't like it when a player dies suddenly and they just don't know how did it happen. Because there's so many one-hit kill things in the game. The game's pretty complex at this point, and they said that's something they want to rein in. And then they're like, Prismatic, baby, and which flies in the face of that very concern. So I just don't know, you guys. I just don't know. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts here too. So I mean, imagine a Titan is 30 feet away from you, but then he uses his thrusters followed by 3 frenzied blade attacks and activates knockout. Like a mile may as well be an inch to that Titan. Are we at all worried that this is going to take things in PvP and make them a lot more convoluted? Is it going to make it even that much less approachable for casual gamers? Like the gap between the common gamer and the seasoned veteran who's used all the different combinations on all the different subclasses and knows how to mad scientist something crazy together. Like, is that going to make it even less approachable for the common gamer in PvP? Let me know in the comments below what you think about that, and let me know what combination also of prismatic and exotic class items you're going to be using in the final shape. Thanks as always for your viewership, your support, your engagement, all of it. It means a lot to me. Be warm and well fed, my friends, and I hope to catch you in the Crucible.